السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Okay, I'm waiting for your signal before we can start. So please send it either on YouTube or on Google Plus. WhatsApp. And I think you can join. I haven't received anything yet. They say that there's one person only watching, but I think that okay. This Abdurrahman Kungri is saying that he's responding to my salam. Jazakallah khairan. Is the voice okay? The sound, is it clear? Is somebody who keeps appearing and then disappearing? Another viewer. It seems that you do not need an invitation to join the Hangout as well, which means you can chat, use the group chat on the Hangout. Okay, طيب. So Brother Abdurrahman says that the sound is good. So inshallah we can go ahead and start. Bismillah, inna alhamdulillahi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار وبعد. Okay, the reason for the delay today is that I was trying to move from, or I'm trying the process of moving from Firefox to Google Chrome as a browser, and everything seems to work normally and as if I'm in the other browser, except that when I started from YouTube, I ran the Hangout. I said go online, and usually it opens the Hangout and shows my picture as it appears to you, and if anybody is logged in also I will be able to tell. Instead of doing that, it didn't show anything, so I'm assuming that maybe there is some kind of attachment needed for Google Hangouts in Firefox, in Google Chrome, which I already have in Firefox, but not in Google Chrome. So I had to go back to Firefox, and that caused some delay because I had to cancel things and resume them in the other place and so on. Okay. I have this online program that keeps giving me adhans at all different times of the day. So it gives adhan for Isha like 3-4 different times, and for other prayers as well. Okay, so last time we were discussing the story of the leper, the bald man, and the blind man. And what we're going to do today is read quickly the story. Let me put it up for you to see, because I fixed the translation. So I'll be just reading the translation today so that we do not have to spend the time reading the Arabic text as well, since because we already have done that before. So, okay, here it is. Okay, so we will read the story so that we can understand the commentary for people who did not attend the previous lecture. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Indeed, there were 3 men from the Israelites, a leper, a bald man, and a blind man. Allah willed to try them, so He sent to them an angel. The angel approached the leper and said, 'What's the dearest thing to you?' He replied, 'It is to have a good complexion and a healthy skin, and that whatever people revile about me would depart from me.'" I think it's better from English viewpoint make this a complete sentence by adding the word "it is." Okay, so the angel wiped him, causing his disease to depart from him, and he was given a good complexion and a healthy skin. The angel then asked him, "What kind of wealth do you prefer?" He replied, "Camels." Again, if you want to make a complete sentence, you'd say, "I prefer camels." So he gave him a 10-month pregnant she-camel and said to him, "May Allah bless it for you." Then the angel approached the bald man and said, "What's the dearest thing to you?" He replied, "To have a good hair, and that whatever people revile about me would depart from me." The angel wiped him, causing that to depart from him, and he was given good hair. The angel then asked him, "What kind of wealth do you prefer?" He replied, "Cows." So he gave him a pregnant cow and said to him, "May Allah bless it for you." The angel then approached the blind man and said, "What is the dearest thing to you?" He replied, "That Allah gives me back my eyesight, so as to see the people." The angel wiped him, and Allah gave him back his eyesight. The angel then asked him, "What kind of wealth do you prefer?" He replied, "Sheep." So he gave him a childbearing ewe. Actually, it's pronounced "you." That's why if you have an an, before it you put a. You don't put an like you put before vowels. It is considered like a consonant the way you pronounce it. So he gave him a childbearing ewe and said to him, "May Allah bless it for you." Remember last time that I said this part is not in the text of the hadith, but I added it to conform with the other 2 parts, and that is what makes sense from the way the story is unfolding. Thus, the former 2, the she-camel and the cow, produced offspring, and the latter, which means the ewe, gave birth as well. And in the Arabic language, they use different words for that. In English, you can say that they all gave offspring. And then the first man, which means eventually the first man, had a valley full of camels. The second had a valley full of cows, and the third had a valley full of sheep. Okay. Then the angel approached the ex-leper in his former shape and appearance. and said, and this word former is not in the original text, so let me put between brackets, but it is, that's what is meant. So he came to him in his surati wa hayati, in his shape and appearance, and said, I am a needy man, for surely the ropes of sustenance have been cut off for me or from me during my travel. Thus, I can never reach my destination except by Allah, which means by help from Allah, and then by you, by the one who gave you a good complexion, a healthy skin, and wealth. I ask of you a camel to continue with my travel. The ex-leper replied, I cannot help you because I have too many obligations. So he said his excuse was, I have too many obligations. The angel responded, it is as though I know you. Were you not a leper, reviled by people, and poor, but Allah granted you wealth? He replied, indeed, I have only inherited this wealth from the eldest to the older, yani of his grandparents. The angel then said, if you are lying, may Allah restore you to your initial status. The angel then approached the ex-bald man in his former shape and appearance, and said to him, like what he said to the first man. The ex-blind man's response was similar to that of the first man. So the angel said, if you are lying, may Allah restore you to your initial status. The angel then approached the ex-blind man in his former shape and appearance, and said the same as he said to the first two men. I am a needy traveler, for surely the ropes of sustenance have been cut off for me during my travel. Notice that here I'm putting exact literal translation. Maybe this can be improved on, making it shorter and more closer to our current way of saying things, but I haven't worked on this that far yet. So he said, thus I can never reach my destination except by Allah and then by you. By the one who restored your eyesight, I ask of you, a you, see here I put a, I didn't put an, a you to continue with my travel. The ex-blind man replied, I surely was blind, but Allah restored to me my eyesight, and I was poor, but He enriched me. So take what you desire and leave what you desire. By Allah, I will not begrudge you this day for anything that you take, for Allah's sake, which means I'm doing this for Allah's sake. So the angel responded, keep your wealth, for indeed you three, yani he is referring to the three of them, you guys have been tried, and Allah surely was pleased with you and angry with your two companions. So this is the story that we discussed to some degree last time. And our discussion last time was mostly about the some technical things relating to this story, plus some lessons, but there were some other lessons that I said we can discuss later. Okay, and this is what we're going to do today. But before that, let me see, Brother Abu Hamza Congreve sent some comments. He said, we can be tested by tribulations or by good. This is true, and this is one of the points that I was going to go over. So that's actually all his points are good points. Secondly, we may ask Allah for specific things. What he means is that we do not have to make only general dua or a dua from the sunnah. We may it is allowed to ask Allah for specific things, like each one of these three men asked for specific things and they were not reproached for doing that. Okay, then everyone who is given wealth will be tried by it. That's true. Not only wealth, anybody who's given a favor from Allah, he will be tried for it. That's true. We have to be humble and attribute all blessings to Allah, exactly. Glorify Allah and show gratitude. Okay, yeah, this is excellent. And we'll be discussing actually this last point to some depth, and quite well today, inshallah, in some depth. Okay, before that, let me see what other things we can comment on the text of the story itself. The first thing is, what I'll be saying here will contain, of course, some lessons for us to benefit from. So it's not purely a technical discussion, but what comes after that will be much more detailed and rigorous than what I'm doing now. So أراد Allah, which means Allah willed to أن يبتليهم. So when Allah wills to يبتليهم, which means to try someone, He can try him with difficulty or with ease. And they were already in difficulty. One of them was a leper, the other was a bald man, whom people made fun of, probably, and the third was blind. So those problems by themselves could be trials for them, and maybe they were trials for them, but Allah wanted to try them in a different way, by giving them, by making them rich and clear them from their ailments. This makes some ulama believe or say that actually the trials with ease are more difficult than trials with difficulty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ, which means we try you with shar, with evil, and khair, and with good. With difficulty, with hardships, and with ease. As fitna, as a trial for you. Both of them as a trial or test for you. And the trial with ease is more difficult because people, if they do not have anything, there's not much wrong they can do. Okay, but if they have wealth and health and abilities, then they have more reach. They would have more reach to do destruction or to do good. And since most people obviously are not good, therefore they will use the favor that Allah blessed them with. They will use them in the wrong way, in a way that will displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only the steadfast, those with strong iman, will stay steady in the face of the trial of ease and wealth. And we see in this story that it was only the blind man who remained steadfast, whereas the other two men lost the test, or were unsuccessful or failed the test. Okay. So trials can be with good or with bad, and the trials with good are harder. Why are they harder? I just said that, but if somebody can write it down, send it in a message, inshallah, like a contribution to the discussion, to remind us of what I just said, that will be good. why is the trial with ease more difficult than the trial with uh, with difficulty or with hardships? Okay, uh, so that's the first thing I want to say about this story. The next thing is that Allah sent to them an angel to try them with, and Allah has the uh, freedom, of course. He can choose whatever he wants as a means of trying people. يعني he can as we know that he tells us subhanahu wa ta'ala وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُ. No one knows the extent of your Lord's soldiers except him. So he is the only one who knows his soldiers, and so he can uh, يعني subjugate anything he wants so that it becomes a soldier or a means for him subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things happen the way that he wills them to happen. And of course he can do the trial directly without any intermediacy, but why he chose an angel, it is for his wisdom subhanahu wa ta'ala, and maybe to give us a lesson, the lesson that we are reading, and some other lessons from this story. Okay. Now another thing I noticed here, and I didn't see commentary from the ulama on it, so I will just leave it open and maybe say a few words about it, is that when the angel, I didn't get anything from anyone regarding my earlier question, so please, and if you can write it down now, go ahead and send it. Otherwise, during our discussion before we close this class, so that we can share it with the others. As I said, I already said what it is, but maybe I said it quickly and people did not notice what it was. So that's why I'm asking from you to write it down, and that way it will be recorded for everyone to see it, inshallah. Okay, so the next thing is that when he came to the that what I noticed is that when he came to the leper and asked him, what is the dearest thing to you, he told him about things relating to his physical problem, that he has leprosy, so he wanted to get this to be removed from him. And then he said two things. I think I mentioned one of them or referred to one of them last time. He said, وَيَذْهَبُ عَنِّي الَّذِي قَدِرَنِ النَّاسِ. So in this statement, which translates as, and that whatever people revile about me would depart from me, this shows this shows already two things that he said that do not reflect strong iman, as I see it. Okay, so before I tell them to you, as I said, one of them I already mentioned last time. So you can again send a message, consider this a homework, and send me the answer now. Let me see how many people are now present in the lecture. We have only 2 people. I don't know why we have this low attendance. Brothers, you need to convey the message to others. And okay, let's see here. Oh no, it's not the same. Okay. Yeah, we have 3 people watching, it says. Yeah, you need to spread the message so that more people would watch. And what I noticed from the way that the attendance has been going from the beginning of these classes is that in the beginning, until now, from the beginning, because as you know, during the lecture, maybe you'll have only a few people attending, but later on, some people will listen to the lecture. And I found that some of these lectures were watched by a maximum of about 20 people. Others were watched by more than that, and the maximum attendance or watch was for the one that about the gold-filled log. Seems that people are enchanted somehow by gold, so that's why we had so many people coming to that lecture, and that was about 98 people the last time I saw it. So, so we have very little attendance, and we need to have more people attending. Anybody who spreads the word, inshallah, will be rewarded for that. If you believe that this is something beneficial, if you believe that this discussion is of benefit, that's one thing. The other thing is, when you participate during the discussion, during my lecture, that also is that also would be very helpful, would support the discussion, would enrich it, and would be an indication that people are truly attending and not, turn on the program and start the browser and then go and eat dinner or lunch or go for a walk or whatever else. Yani we need actual positive attendance in the lectures. Okay. Having said this, I go back to what I was saying earlier, that there are a number of things that I wanted your participation in today. And one of them was relating to why the first question that I sent to you is why the trial with ease is harder or more difficult than the trial with hardship. And the second is that in the statement of the leper, there were two indications of his weak iman, okay, that I saw, even though I didn't see the ulama comment on them, but to me they are obvious. And inshallah, probably if I search enough, I would find something said by the ulama about them. But I wanted your input to see if you see what I see. Okay. Okay. Now, another thing here is about that the angel wiped him and this removed his disease. I discussed this last time, and there's no need to talk about it more. Inshallah, I'll be including it in the section which says the story retold or unfolded, because you might somebody might ask if he knew that this was an angel, then he would have behaved totally differently, and he would have remembered to take heed the next time that the angel came to him. But I gave some kind of explanation what he thought of the angel when he wiped him last time. Okay. Now the next thing is about the bald man. The bald man also said something similar to the first man. He said, when he asked him what would you like, he said to have good hair, and that whatever people revile about me would depart from me. Okay, so this is similar to the other man, and it shows again that there is a weakness of iman in two different regards. Okay, so let me see if you can notice that, if you can tell what these two regards are. Okay, the third man did not have this problem that the first two men had, even from the very beginning. When he asked him what's the dear thing to him, he said that Allah gives me back my eyesight so as to see the people. Okay, the angel wiped him and Allah gave him back his eyesight. Okay. Type. What else we have about this story? Okay, I don't have much to say any more than what I said last time. So we'll leave this and go to the discussion of other lessons that we can see in this story. And as I said last time, there are many of them, but I want to emphasize a couple uh, or a few. First of all, gratitude toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should be most grateful to Allah, whose favors upon us are far beyond our counting or encompassing. Of the three men in this story, only the blind man showed gratitude to his benefactor. Okay, how did he show gratitude? The first two men said, no, this is something that I inherited from my family, from one generation to the next generation. It's nothing that came from Allah, and as if Allah does not favor anyone of the previous generations, but they, by their own wits, they acquire their wealth, and then they pass them down to their children and grandchildren. So the two men attributed their fortune to themselves and their families, and in addition to lying, they showed ingratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The blind man, on the other hand, or the ex-blind man, showed gratitude to his benefactor subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he confessed, he acknowledged, yes, indeed, I was blind and Allah gave me back my eyesight. And I was poor and Allah gave me all this wealth. So, really, it's not mine, it's all His. And if there is a person in need of some of this wealth, let him take whatever he needs. So that was his attitude, and that is why Allah was pleased with him, as the angel stated later on. Okay. Secondly, part of being grateful is to attribute or ascribe a favor to its benefactor. If somebody renders you a favor, you should be shakir to him. And shakir means grateful. You should be grateful to him. You should show him gratitude. Consequently, we should attribute all favors that we enjoy to their true giver, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first two men in this story, the leper and the bald man, attributed their fortunes to their wits and skills. The blind man, on the other hand, attributed his fortune to Allah, to their wits and skills, and to their families also, we can say. Fix the sentence later, and families, ancestors. The blind man, on the other hand, attributed his fortune to Allah alone. Sadly, most people act like the first two men. When they are fortunate and successful, they say, I have absolute right to this accomplishment because it's a result of my hard work, skill, and ability. They may even say, I was given this by Allah because He knows that I deserve wealth and distinction. Okay, so it's one of the two scenarios. Either that they would say, it's me, I did it, and Allah has nothing to do with it. Or they would say, if they are slightly better or not as bad, they would say, yeah, it was given to me by Allah, but it is because I deserve it. Because He knows that I deserve the wealth and favor that He gave me. That's why He gave them to me and not to someone else. And this is the attitude of most people. In this story, we had three people, and two of them turned out to be ungrateful, and one was grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you see, the majority were ungrateful, of the three, the majority of the three, which is 2/3. In real life, if you want to count people, you will find that those who are grateful to Allah are much less than 1/3 of the total population. Okay, so this story only tells us that more people are ungrateful than those who are grateful, but doesn't necessarily give us the always the exact proportion. Okay. Uh, okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a general statement here in this ayah. First, let me see what Brother Abu Hamza said. Signs of the leper's weak iman. Number one, not asking Allah to heal him. Second, dearest thing to him, immaterial, temporary. Let me see the rest. Think. Allah knows best. Okay. The next thing, all of them ask for material things. If that's what you mean. Okay. Let me. Okay. Before I continue with this, since it's a long point, let me go back and discuss what Abu Hamza just said and finish with it, yani. Get it over with. Which is that, look what the leper said. He said, to have good complexion and healthy skin. That's the first thing he asked for, right? He didn't say it is that Allah gives me a good complexion and healthy skin, like the blind man said. Okay? So just, you are a doctor. He thought that the angel was a doctor. He said, whatever, a doctor or a soothsayer or whatever, a magician. He said, whatever you can do so that I can have good complexion and healthy skin. He didn't say so that Allah will give me good complexion and healthy skin. So this shows that he does not refer things to Allah from the beginning. And secondly, he said, whatever people revile about me would depart from me, which shows that what his concern is not, if this happens, if he is cured, it is not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be good to Allah, and to be good in the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, it is so that people would like him. So he cares more about what people think about him. Okay? And not what Allah knows about him. So these are two indications of weak iman, as I see in this statement. And the same is true about the bald man. Okay, the bald man said something very, very similar. He said to have good hair, and that whatever people revile about me would depart from me. Same thing. He cares about the people, not about his relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third man, he said that Allah gives me back my eyesight. So first of all, he did not say that I get back my eyesight. He said that Allah gives me back my eyesight. So he wants the favor from Allah, not from anyone else. And this is an indication of iman. And the second, he said, he didn't say so that people stop reviling me. No. He said so as to see the people, which means so that I can interact with the people, maybe make da'wah to them, maybe see Allah's favors on them, Allah's power over them, and so on. So I can see around me, and therefore maybe that way I can be a better believer. So he did not say, he was not afraid that people would continue to revile him if he stayed as a blind man. No, what he cared about is only that he can see the people. Okay, so this comparison showed me, Wallahu A'lam, that there was a striking difference in the attitude of the three men, even from the very beginning. The other question that I asked earlier, and I said I already have covered before, is that about ibtila, about the trials, that they can be with ease or with difficulty. Why did I say that the trial with ease is more difficult than the trial with difficulties and hardship? It is because, uh, as I said earlier, and I'm repeating myself now, it is because when a person is tried with difficulty, he doesn't have anything to start with. He is lacking in health or wealth or other things. And therefore, he is to some degree forced to stay within certain limits. And his trial would be either that he is a patient and accepting that he accepts Allah's trial, or he rebels and becomes a disbeliever. Okay, but for the trial with ease, it is more difficult because it gives the person a more reach, as I said, either with his health, with his powers, with his abilities, with his wealth, he would have more reach and therefore more ability to do evil things, to destroy. Okay, like you have a a young child who is still, in his first few months of life. He is all the time lying down and unable to move. But as he starts moving and crawling, and later on as he starts walking, he has more ability to destroy, and you have to be more careful about where he goes and what he does. Okay? So there should be some control over him. Now, for people, when they have more reach to do destruction, then they most likely they will do destruction. They will misbehave. And because, as we know, as I mentioned earlier, that وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ, not most people, even if you so much wish or care for that, yet most people are not believers. Okay? So most people will not do the right things. And therefore, when they are tried with ease, most people who are tried with ease will misbehave and will use what Allah gave them, the fortunes that Allah gave them, in a way that displeases Him. And that's why the trial with ease is more difficult, because more people fail it instead, in comparison with the trial with difficulty or with hardships. Okay, so we go back now to gratitude. We were talking about gratitude, and I said that ascribing the favors to Allah alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the favor that we enjoy in this life, is part of being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah tells us, He gives a general rule here in this ayah, that this is how people are. وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَاهُ, about the human being. وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنَّا مِنْ بَعْدِ ضَرَّاءَ مَسَّتْهُ لَيَقُولَنَّ هَذَا لِي وَمَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمَةً وَلَئِنْ رُجِعْتُ إِلَى رَبِّي إِنَّ لِي عِنْدَهُ لَلْحُسْنَى فَلَنُنَبِّئَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِمَا عَمِلُوا وَلَنُذِيقَنَّهُمْ مِنْ عَذَابٍ غَلِيظٍ, which means, and if we let him, which means the human being, taste mercy from us after an adversity that has touched him, he will surely say, this is due to me, and I do not think that the hour will occur. And even if I should be returned to my Lord, indeed for me there will be with him the best. We will surely inform those who disbelieve about what they did, and we will surely make them taste a massive punishment. Okay, this is in Surah Fussilat number 50. This is a general rule that Allah Azza wa Jal sets, that this is the attitude of most people. Most people are like that. When they are given mercy from Him, and when they are given ease after difficulty, they turn back upon their heels, which means they become disbelievers. Okay, And there are examples or critical examples of that, such as Qarun. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us about him. Qarun, one of Musa's people, was a striking example of ingratitude and conceit. Allah granted him enormous wealth. Yani it was such a huge wealth that Allah says that the keys of his treasures needed cannot be carried or borne by even a large group of men. Only the keys, not the treasures themselves. So just imagine how enormous were his treasures. And then, so Allah tells us of Qarun's response when some people advised him to avoid conceit and show gratitude to Allah. When they told him, لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين. Do not be boastful because or conceited, because Allah does not like those who are conceited. So what did he respond? قال إنما أوتيته على علم عندي. He said, I was only given this because of knowledge that I have. Thus he attributed the fortune to himself, claiming that he deserved it and that Allah granted it to him because he is worthy of wealth and dignity. Obviously his punishment was, and obviously means that we know this from the Quran, was that he did not only lose his wealth, but he also lost his life by being buried deep inside the earth. Okay. Many people whom Allah grants wealth attribute that to themselves, saying, I am an expert in managing money. I have a thorough understanding of commercial transactions. I know the best ways of investment, and so on. They forget that Allah is the one who favored them with what they have. If He wills, He can simply stop the effect of the means of their affluence, reducing them to nothing. Yani He can leave. There are two possibilities. The first possibility is that He will do with them what He did to Qarun. He will destroy their wealth, either directly or indirectly. Directly like He did to Qarun, or indirectly like, slowly making them lose in business and bad investments and things like that. Or else, He will, whatever means they trusted more than Allah, that they will bring them wealth and more benefit, they will stop working for them. Because as you know, everything is under Allah's control. And that way, they will be losers as well, because everything is in Allah's hand, as we said. Similar to this about wealth, a physician might say, this patient was cured because of me. A student might say, I succeeded or received this honor because of my effort and hard work. A farmer might say, I have good crops because I apply well-founded methods of farming and use modern tools. Such individuals would again be ascribing all accomplishments to themselves instead of the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alternatively, they could be ascribing them to Allah, but implicitly saying that they succeeded because Allah knows that they deserved the success. And this was, these are the two possibilities that the ulama give for Qarun. When he said, it is because of knowledge that I have, it could carry two meanings. The first meaning is that it is because of my expertise and great knowledge of the ways of handling things and so on. And it could mean that he was saying, it's because of the knowledge that Allah has about me that He thinks that I deserve this wealth more than anyone else. And either of the two understandings are very wrong and show clear ingratitude. Okay, when a person finds facility and success, he should remember that Allah is the one who granted him facility. who guided him to the correct understanding, and who allowed the means to produce the results. Okay? So this is very important, that Allah is the one who granted him facility. Yani this is all overall. Yani whoever he gave him the success that he was looking for. He guided him to the correct understanding. Yani if somebody succeeds in a test or an exam or at work or otherwise, then he should realize that it is because Allah guided him to the correct understanding. And not only that, but he also allowed the means to produce the results, which means sometimes the means will not produce the results. Like you take a medication that is supposed to do such and such, to cure such and such a problem. But Allah, He, with His overpowering will, can stop the effect. And either directly, again, or indirectly. It's up to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yani it's according to His will and wisdom. Directly by, just telling the medicine not to work, or indirectly by causing other things to conflict with that medicine to make it not work. Okay? So Allah, therefore, is the benefactor initially and continually. Okay? We have to remember this. Along the way, and in the middle of the way, and at the end. It's all in Allah's hand. Therefore, a believer must eliminate egotism from himself and must note that he has no power or might except by Allah. He must note that Allah does not owe him anything. Rather, it's he who owes to Allah gratitude, remembrance, and the acknowledgement of favors. He does not deserve anything from Allah except what Allah decreed to grant him out of His tremendous generosity and mercy. He must know that were Allah to pay him back for his work and worship, it would then become clear that all his work cannot pay for even one of the favors that Allah granted him. Okay, we should put ourselves in the right perspective in relationship with Allah, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should realize our negligible, smallness and tininess, if there is such a word, compared to the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Now here's some text that I did not translate yet, even though I liked it and I thought it's good to include here. I will quickly tell you what it means. It means that it is our obligation to, therefore, to ascribe all favors to Allah alone. It's basically a repetition or recap of what preceded. And to feel that He does not deserve anything from Allah. Rather, it is Allah who deserves that our servitude to Him. And He is the one who deserves our gratitude, and He is the one who deserves our glorification. Whereas we as servants, we are poor, we are sinful. No matter how good we are, we still are very sinful and very poor and needy towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a very important element of Tawheed, that we should attribute all good to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and realize that we need Him, an ultimate need, and without Him we can do nothing. Okay? As for other people, as we said, there is another thing that Allah tells us here, which is similar to the previous one about the attitude of other people generally. فإذا مس الإنسان ضر دعانا ثم إذا خولناه نعمة منا قال إنما أوتيته على علم بل هي فتنة ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون. This is in Surah Al-Zumar, which means when adversity touches a human, he calls upon us. Then when we bestow on him a favor from us, he says, I've only been given it because of my knowledge. Similar to Qarun, exactly similar to what Qarun said. Rather, it is a trial, but most of them do not know. And most people do not see the trial. Look, Allah is trying you with favors, so take heed. As Allah says in Surah Takathur, ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون. No, you will know, then again you will know. And you are being too much engrossed in takathur, in multiplying and gathering the worldly possessions until you reach your graves. Allah Musta'an. May Allah forgive us. Okay, now here is another point, a small point, which is to ask, did the angel lie when he said, I am a poor man, a poor traveler who needs your help? Uh, so Allah describes the situation. Okay, I think this belongs somewhere else. Okay, I think this belongs to the previous part, this paragraph. When they are in distress, yeah, it applies to this ayah actually. فإذا مس الإنسان ضر دعانا. So Allah describes the situation of most people. When they are in distress, they turn to Allah with sincere supplication. But when He grants them a fortune, they transgress and misbehave, claiming that they are given this because of their worth and special status with Allah. Allah then indicates that their ignorance blinds them from realizing that this is nothing but a trial to which He subjects them to distinguish between the good and the bad. Okay, now here, did the angel lie? Here I did not give any prior description to this paragraph, which I can do later on, inshallah. But, a question, as I said, might arise that why did the angel, is the angel's statement that I am a poor man, a poor traveler, is this a lie? Does this count as a lie, and Muslims and righteous people are not supposed to lie? Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah answered this in his book A'lam Waqi'in by saying that the angel told them, each of the three men, that he was a needy traveler who lost all means of sustenance. This claim was not a statement of double meaning, ta'rid or ma'arid as they call it, as we mentioned before, in regard to the, if you remember, the man with the horn, who had the horn around his neck. He said words that meant double meaning. Okay? But here it's not that. Rather, as Ibn Qayyim says, it was a truthful story representing a parable to test their reaction. Yani, he told them a story, I am a poor man, this was a story, but it is not meant to be telling the exact truth, it's telling a parable. It's not a precise story in that sense, it is rather a parable that, look, if I am a poor man who is in need, what would you do to me to help me? What would you do for me? That's what the essence of the words of Ibn al-Qayyim are. And then he said, this is similar to how two angels pretended to Dawood alayhi salam that their story of being in conflict applied to them. You probably know the story where it is mentioned in the beginning of Surah Sad, the second page of Surah Sad, where two angels came to Dawood alayhi salam and they told him that I and my brother have a conflict between us. He has 99 sheep and I have only one sheep. And he told me, or use, he has 99 and I have one, and he took mine to complete his 100. So Dawood answered them, and his answer was not considered the right one, because he immediately jumped to the answer without verifying their statements. So those two angels were again giving a parable to Dawood, like that, assuming we have there are two people who have such a situation, what would you do to resolve their conflict? And his resolution was not the right one, so Allah Azza wa Jal then told him, and he told him that also this was a test for him to take care of his people, or something to that effect. You can go back to the books of tafsir for the full understanding of this story. Uh, but basically, this is another parable that is not supposed to be, or meant to be, or is understood to be a lie. Rather, it's a parable, as I said, that is meant to teach people a lesson. Either whether it's the people who are directly involved with it, or people who came after them and heard of it like us. Okay? Uh, Importance of charity. This we discussed at depth last time, or in the previous story. So there's no need to go over it much here. Uh, the blind man was the only one who was willing to give charity generously. Okay, because he told the poor man, or the angel who pretended to be a poor man, he said, take whatever you will and leave whatever you will. And as you see, and this, in addition to counting for him as charity, this was a means of appeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or pleasing him. And because it showed that the man is willing to give a lot in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this makes him eligible for great rewards in the hereafter. Okay, so this counts for him as a huge charity, that he, whether it was accepted or taken from him or not taken from him. And here's a point that I just came to my mind, which is that, maybe we should highlight it along the way in this story. There, subhanAllah, the stories in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ have carried so much powerful meaning that you cannot finish, encompass all the meanings in them. And it seems that you always find new meanings and new additional things to say as you go. Now, what I wanted to say is that, let me write it down before I forget it. It doesn't belong in this point. It belongs somewhere else, but I want to write it down here, just as I said, to remember it, which is that we all people receive favors that require from us. As a show of gratitude, we should give charity for the favor that Allah grants us. Now, in the case of these three men, they got their wealth suddenly, okay? And they were required to give charity later on, maybe 20 years later, Allah Alam, how many years after that. For us, it is the same thing, it doesn't mean that it's only the sudden charity that requires, the sudden wealth requires charity. No. If we acquire wealth slowly, and not only wealth, we are talking about wealth and about health and about other favors from Allah, family, children, and so on, we should always be prepared to give charity for that, and realize that all of these are tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So require charity from us. We all receive favors from Allah that require charity from us, regardless of whether they come, the favors come suddenly or gradually. Because the attitude of people is different in regard to this. Some people think that sudden wealth require charity but not gradual ones, or vice versa. So that's a point that need to be clarified and emphasized after I polish it, inshallah. Another point relating to charity is that, and this I don't know if I'll be including it in the other story where we talked about charity the previous story, uh, but I can write it here now since I remembered, and then see what is the best place for it, which is that the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, uh, let me write it in Arabic and then we can translate it. الصدقة الصدقة تطفئ غضب الرب. تطفئ غضب الرب, which means charity extinguishes the anger of the Lord. Okay, so for a person to protect himself from Allah's anger, he should give charity. If you find that he is, he has committed sins and Allah is angry with him, he should, one of the things that he can do in addition to repentance is to give charity. And in the case of these three men, as you saw, only one of them was prepared to uh, to protect himself, to shelter himself from Allah's anger by giving charity. Okay. Uh, the next point is about acknowledging Allah's favors. In addition to being grateful to Allah and acknowledging His favors, we should be inclined. Here it means, rather than acknowledging, means announcing. Okay, announcing Allah's favors on us, which means, this is in relation to the ayah in Surah وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. At the end, the last ayah of this surah says, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And as for your Lord's favor, speak, which means speak out about it. Yani, tell other people about the favors of your Lord on you. So it doesn't mean to be boastful to people, but it means to be truly a true believer who submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we described earlier, and at the same time who realizes that, look, I have been given so many favors. It's not by my power or smartness or skill. It is because Allah, it's from Allah, and Allah will to give it to me as a trial for me. So it is a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one should talk to other people about Allah's favors on him, and this way maybe people will turn more towards Allah in submission and seeking His favors as well. So we should be always inclined to speak of these favors with praise and submission, glorifying the Lord and showing Him gratitude is a means of maintaining His favors. This is relating to the earlier thing that I wrote about sadaqah here. So let me put it here, and then okay. The first two men denied Allah's favors and did not give Allah's due right for those favors. Because there is due right, which is charity. Thus Allah's anger befell them. As for the blind man, he acknowledged Allah's favors on him, ascribed them to him, and gave Allah's due right for them. So he did three things. Okay, acknowledged, ascribed them to him, and gave the due right, which is charity. Thus he deserved Allah's acceptance. Now, this is the statement of Ibn al-Qayyim that I translated quickly and imprecisely to you last time. So this is a better translation. I'll read it to you and conclude with it. The rest after that is not much, so we can stop here, inshallah, with this statement. The original meaning of gratitude, Ibn Qayyim said in Madarij al-Salikin, volume 2. He said, the original meaning of gratitude and You know, gratitude means in English, in Arabic is shukr. The ahadith here talk about shukr, okay? And in English it is gratitude. Now some people, when they translate the word shukr to English, they write thankfulness or being thankful. And this is a very incomplete or imprecise translation because being thankful to in the minds of some people is to say thank you or to feel some kind of any appreciation in your heart. Okay, but gratitude is much more than that, as Ibn Qayyim shows here. The original meaning of gratitude is to acknowledge a benefactor's favor in a manner of submission to him, humbleness before him, and love for him. Thus, then he classifies people to five different types. He says a person who is unaware and ignorant of a favor cannot be grateful for it. If you don't know that somebody rendered a favor to you, how can you be grateful to him, show him gratitude? You can't, because you don't know. Then, a person who recognizes a favor but is unaware of the benefactor, if you don't know who gave you this favor, cannot be grateful for it either. Thirdly, a person who recognizes a favor and its benefactor but denies it is not grateful for it also. Yani, he knows it is, for example, if this favor is from so and so, or this favor is from Allah. But he says, I'm not going to do anything about it. It's actually because I deserve it, or something like this, as we saw earlier. Then this person is not grateful either. Then a person who recognizes a favor and its benefactor and acknowledges it without any denial, but does not submit to the benefactor, accept him and accept the benefactor or approve of him, is also ungrateful. And even this level is not the level that we should seek. What is the level that we should seek? A person who recognizes a favor and its benefactor, acknowledges it, submits to its benefactor, loves him and approves of him. And this, of course, applies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, and uses it, yani the favor, in what pleases him. This is the one who is grateful for it. May Allah make us of those, because this is really a very beautiful description that is not easy to apply, to implement, and we ask Allah, as I said, to enable us to implement this in regard to most of the favors that Allah granted us. And if a person, no one can do it for every single favor from Allah except a prophet or a Siddiq. May Allah make us in their company in the hereafter. Therefore, gratitude requires gratitude. That's why it's a mistake. Okay, therefore, gratitude requires knowledge of the heart. Yani, maybe a better word is knowledge within the heart. Yani, knowledge about the favor and actions based on that knowledge, which is to lean toward the benefactor or be inclined in his direction, yani to love him and submit to him. Okay, so this is, he summarizes what he said above in these few words here. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us of the grateful people. There are more lessons in this hadith, really, and they were coming to me while I was working on it earlier today and yesterday and the day before, but we covered the main ones. Okay, we covered the main ones, and some others, as you saw, that are not as major. And inshallah, when I have time to finalize this chapter for being at the publishing level, then inshallah, hopefully I'll be able to add the rest of the points. And like always, if you have any feedback, any suggestions, I will be more than happy to consider them and to include them in my future work on this chapter. Okay, so with this I stop. I'm sorry I exceeded the time by about 15 minutes. uh, but I did not want to come back to this chapter again a third time. So now, if there are no questions, let's see. I don't see uh, anything written by the brothers here after Abdul Rahman's last point or remark. And okay, so let me stop this. If anybody has questions, now we can deal with them for 1 or 2 minutes. We still have only 2 viewers today, so this was a very low attendance, maybe the lowest so far, 2 or 3 viewers. So it probably has to do with the fact that we are at the time of the year when people are on vacation and they are traveling a lot and so on, which is understandable. But yani, even for those who listen to this lecture later on, the same applies, that if you find any advice that you can give me to edit this lesson or to add to the benefits in it, to the lessons that we can extract from it, from this story, then please let me know so that we can include in the future work. Okay. Uh, I don't see any questions coming, so we stop here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.